And good morning, YouTube. Everybody out there in YouTube land. Welcome to Saturday, the weekend. Hope everybody's doing good. At least as long as you're not in these flood areas, it's probably best. It is Saturday, and I'm a little slow on the uptake, so I'm sure everybody else is too. So we'll give it a couple minutes to get some people in the chat room. There is your weather, and it somehow looks worse than yesterday. I guess all that rain that was covering Michigan is now just moved over to Ohio, it looks like, Pennsylvania. It is looking rough for you folks. And then there's this snow coming in behind it. You can see there in the plains states, as you would call them, I guess. Have your high waters ready. My goodness. That is a storm, folks. And it seems to be moving slowly. This is now your second day in a row. There you can see the warnings, flood warnings, snow coming in behind it. High risk flood may persist in the next week. Let's go to the flooding outlook so y'all can know, if you don't already know who to call and look into. All up and down, everybody. Looked from Texas all the way up into parts of Pennsylvania, looks like. Rough looking go of it. There you can see the outlook. Let me pause that. So there's your flood outlooks. Pittsburgh to Dallas. That's some rough looking territory. Is it fishing season yet? Don't know if y'all can go fishing while you're enjoying the water or not. But that is less than an enjoyable way to get ready for the next week and enjoy your weekend as well. Let's look down here in the side chat. Got Walter Davis with us this morning. M. Long. Right, M. Long, it does look like you are getting quite the drenching, and you have an arc, I guess, prepared as well. But it is a brutal situation. Stan, you're avoiding this, aren't you, Stan? Aren't you up there where they're getting all the white stuff? Oh, you're getting the water as well, Stan. Fishing in your own basement as well. That sounds enjoyable. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's your flooding. There's your radar. Talk about all the snow on the back end of this. A lot of water that I wish we were getting some of that. This is what kind of like what our winter was like last year. Out here, we had like 3 weeks of intensive snow and rain flooding, and then we took a small break. February came in, and we got another shot of flooding and snow and everything else, and then we had another and had record snowfall for the year, et cetera, et cetera. We're just missing out this year. There's all your warnings and watches. Definitely hitting a lot of you out there. Looks like it's getting to you too, Walter. At least it's going to try to, it looks like. So if you don't have your flooding bug out plan, flooding barricade plan, barrier plan, boat plan, whatever plan you think you need to activate, do it now. Goodness. Additional rain, 2 to 3 inches, 1 to 2 inches. This is in Tejas, it looks like, right here. Just a little flooding. That doesn't look too terrible. Some of the pictures, the video I saw out of Michigan yesterday was much worse. That's in Kalamazoo. Yeah, this is Michigan. That's, I'd say, a slight bit worse. You got whole neighborhoods swallowed up right there. So, all right, folks, that's what to get ready for if you don't have other plans for the weekend. If you have plans for the weekend, cancel them, and this is your new plan. If you're in this path, it looks like you might need to go help the neighbor or something. Stan says the rain melted a lot of snow over 3 days. All that water and ice backed up under the bridges, etc. Yeah, causes mixed ice dams, cause bigger problems. Exactly. You'll see a lot of roofs have problems like that. Stan, you'll have the water melt the snow. It'll get a little dam on one side of it, and roofs will begin to leak when seams are compromised. You get a lot of standing water on top of roofs, stuff like that. Kevin Stoll's joined us. They're having bad flooding in Goshen, Indiana. Do you say Goshen up north of the Mason-Dixon, or is it Goshen? We say Goshen. I don't know. I'm sure some hillbilly says Goshen. Stan Ulch reports that they've declared a state of emergency in Wayne Gretzky's home location where he grew up, Grand River, Ontario. Is that the Boondocks essentially, Grand River, or is that a big city? Can I look up Goshen, Indiana on here? There's a bunch of Goshens. My goodness. Goshens from New Jersey to California. Who knew? Flood warning. They definitely just left. It looks like on the radar here. If we got any pictures, probably. Oh, it's an impressive picture. Um, so it's over. Get this ad over with. This guy's in Louisville doing this report, so but so that's all that. Oh, we got caregivers joined us. Caregiver 7751. Good morning. Hometown of Niles, Michigan, or Niles, Michigan, is underwater. Yeah, we saw a lot of. They showed some pictures of Kalamazoo earlier. It was underwater as well, no doubt. And all that stuff's over Ohio now, in Pittsburgh. Warsaw, Indiana, is under. All right, there was your rundown of the. See the radar go by. They didn't have anything in that area. I guess I could look up. Let's see if I can look up a local paper there. Some on the ground pictures. All right. Here we go. Oh. Here. Oh, whoa, whoa, slow down. So here's on here. This is the Indiana governor in Goshen, it looks like. He came out to visit. A whole lot other than the political. We're going to rebuild better and stronger stuff, but no, not very good pictures there either. Cut it out. So that's the Goshen local paper, looks like. Here's some video. So in the side chat, you guys will see are saying that the Goshen, Indiana, Elkhart, Niles, Michigan are all connected by the same river. So that's all having the same effect in the same areas. Here's some pictures out of there. Did this person get stranded out there? A kayaker became stranded. Ooh. Kayak capsized. If you have a bug out plan on your kayak, don't get stranded. Interesting. Rescue the kayaker. Mayor. When a kayaker gets stranded, you know you got some good water. Or an inexperienced kayaker. So lots of rain out there, folks, if you're in the Midwest. Elkhart, I got Elkhart police responded to 29 flood-related incidents, 150 evacuations. Lots of what to do if the water rises up to your place. Health concerns if you're in standing water. which I would think some of this would be mitigated by the temperatures out there. Are you guys getting close to freezing out there in the night, Kevin? Like a lot of these diseases would be mitigated by freezing temperatures. Talks about hepatitis A and E. coli and stuff. Cold water won't grow that quite like it would if it was warm in Florida or something like that. All right. Talk of a dam break there, caregiver. We're talking about up in Michigan, I guess. But downriver of Niles is about to break also. Is that an earth dam? Hmm. Is that Buchanan, Michigan, it looks like? See what we got on that. Water running level near South Burr. It's from one day ago. Let's pull this over. Near capacity as water level rises to near capacity. Oh, goodness, I got to answer questions. Sure, no, I would not buy that. That looks concerning. This is the top of the dam and it's overtopping it. St. Joseph River. See if I can blow this up a little bit. And that's two pictures. That's not as helpful as you would like. Checking for signs of failure. Everything is operating as scheduled, of course, at this point. They say. So there's flood warnings all downstream of this, of course. And that is, the watch was active through Friday afternoon, so maybe it's eased up if we look for some updates. As this was yesterday. And some of this flooding was on Wednesday, etc. So they are concerned about the dam, but it may have receded enough by now they can tell you a better idea. As we saw the radar, it had passed over you guys. Here's Niles, Goshen. All the big stuff's past you, so maybe it'll ease up. In that reflection. The flood warning is until 11:45 a.m. Eastern Sunday in Goshen, it looks like. River flood warning, river flood. River flood warning until 4 Eastern Tuesday, February 27th. Right there. So stay out of the rivers. Good advice. All right, let's move on to some other stuff, folks. You guys are tearing it up. All right, Welcome Outdoors just joined us. You're right next to the river as well. Some flooding, I'd imagine. Yeah, we're just checking out some pictures and videos, different places. Looks like there's warnings all up and down the Midwest as we checked it out, all the way down into Arkansas and Texas. They're everywhere. This is the flood outlook that we saw earlier. Let's take it. Since we got some new viewers, I want to catch everybody up, and then we're going to move on. Can't keep it all negative all day, but it is affecting a lot of people. So there's all your flooding outlooks: high, moderate, slight.
There's nothing more important to me than my vacation. So when I need to book a hotel room, it makes it easy to find what I want.
Well, that's not good, Walker, if you got the Ohio River in your backyard when it's 10 miles away. So yeah, stay out of those rivers. Watch out, people out in this area, which is several of you. Several of you are affected by this for sure. But what else is going on? I did want to touch on one story that came out. It's a couple weeks old, but it's kind of, I mean, it's under the radar because it's not like a huge story. But it's one of those things that we follow because we're kind of those type of people, I guess you'd say. Close my link, and I got to go back and get it, etc. So a Texas rancher out near the border found surveillance equipment on his property. It's a couple weeks ago now, and he's suing the feds after he had found a camera placed there without permission on his private property, and the feds are begging to get it back. And there's two different agencies that are contesting who it actually belongs to. They won't even confirm who it belongs to, which is one of the bizarre things. And this is from February 12th, this story. We'll see if we can pull up something new. But reading into it, long-standing feud between him and the Border Patrol. He confiscated a camera found on his property, and he's suing him for trespass and everything else, I would imagine. And the question raises, and he's also suing the Texas Rangers, apparently, who don't respect his private property. So it's raising the question of how much leeway law enforcement officials have to enter private property near the border. Well, they shouldn't have any leeway because the border is the border and private property is private property. Just because you're 100 yards close to it doesn't mean that they can just come onto your property. But Congress has given Homeland Security Department permission to patrol private property within 25 miles of the border, which they can't do. It's not their jurisdiction. It's not their authority to do that, but they did it anyway. But experts say the courts have never defined how much authority agents have on private land, which is get a warrant. Federal agents cannot enter dwellings without a court order. Well, you can't come on private property without a warrant either unless you're actively in pursuit. And they obviously are not in active pursuit. They're just trespass. So the question here, I guess the rancher is asking is if the judge finds that his property is outside the 25-mile zone. So he's not even on the border. He's just kind of close to it. 25 miles away, it looks like, probably. He's probably 24.5 miles away, probably. When they break out their GPS or something, they'll probably figure out a way to be as close as possible. And that's about as close as they're going to get. And they'll say they can trespass just based on that. Palacios' dispute with the Border Patrol dates 2010. The suit was filed in November. Oh, goodness, this has been ongoing and just kind of coming up. One of his sons was body slammed by agents at an immigration checkpoint several miles south of Ensenal. Detained for about 90 minutes, then released. Aggressive federal agent actions. How familiar is that? Several hours later, this is 2010 now, about 3 a.m., a standoff developed between Palacios and his sons, who also live on the property, and a group of agents gathered at the ranch's gates. A Border Patrol supervisor eventually diffused the situation. Palacios alleges that he frequently finds agents on his property. That would be an issue. After one such incident, Palacios confiscated a half-inch diameter white fiberglass spike, 2.5 feet long, with a round 3-inch red reflector fixed at the top that he found embedded in the ground, used as a marker of some sort, I would imagine. They can use it to mark distance and observation points, use it as a reference. Of course, coyotes could use something like that too, so it's hard to say. They probably come across this property quite often too. So the Border Patrol didn't protest when he took that spike, but when he found a surveillance camera attached to a mesquite tree near his house and took it down, I'd like to know, it didn't say how big this guy's ranch was. I wonder how big an area we're talking. Surveillance camera attached to a mesquite tree near his house and took it down. Agents with Customs and Border Patrol and the Texas Rangers started calling him. The suit says a ranger eventually threatened to arrest Palacios if he didn't return the camera. The suit says Palacios believes the Border Patrol and Rangers cooperated to place the camera on his property in violation of his rights. Yeah, for sure. This is huge. This is a bigger deal than people probably are thinking. That obviously most of you people in here probably understand the implications of federal agents placing whatever surveillance they want to on your property, or the state agents for that matter. Palacios has asked a federal judge in Laredo to declare his property outside the 25-mile zone in which the Border Patrol can go on his land. He's also asking for $500,000 in damages, mental and emotional distress, and for unspecified punitive damages. Well, they're having standoffs with him because they keep trying to come on his property. He doesn't know who's coming across his property. He's probably worried about anybody. Obviously, you're trying to protect your ranch and industry income. Officials with the Border Patrol and the Texas Department of Public Safety said they couldn't comment on the litigation. Of course not. Texas Attorney General filed a motion to dismiss, saying that the Texas Rangers are acting in their capacity as a law enforcement officer and has qualified immunity. So you can't sue the state, and Texas is notorious for trying to get away without being sued. If you know anything about, it's kind of a different subject, but it's similar, that whole you can't sue the state. Mike Leach, the Texas Tech football coach, was suing them for unlawful termination, and they're using that qualified immunity as you can't sue the state. We're the state excuse. Palacios has an attorney. Neither the state or federal government had authority to be on Palacios' property and shouldn't have been installing surveillance device without a judge order. Yeah, you think? I guess this is the system of cameras they have set up in the area. They got a network that uses cell phone signals, servers, et cetera, et cetera. Texas Fusion Center, El Paso Fusion Center, et cetera. Obviously, that's probably all set up. This is a part of that. And he rightly brings up here, the government is peeking around where it's not supposed to without any judicial oversight. Indeed, sir. Indeed. I wonder if they told him that they would just go and tell the judge the Russians are coming and try to get a warrant that way. So this is a pretty big deal, I would say, and people need to be aware of what they're getting into. And South Texas is just a disaster zone when you think about it, of infringement. I'd build a wall as fence as big as I could get around my property, keep these fools off there. So they talk about the Operation Drawbridge, which was a multi-million-dollar effort by DPS that began in 2012 to build a virtual wall along the border. The agency has purchased 4,359 cameras, similar to wildlife cameras, for about $300 a piece, and installed them across South Texas. This is the Texas Department of Public Safety, it looks like. Monitored by the state's Border Security Operations Center, which we talked about that a little while back, that Texas had their own border operation going. They didn't rely on the federal government quite as much as other states. There's a map example. It's pretty long. Let's go into side chat. I'm sure we got lots of good comments on that. Back up here a little bit because you guys look like you've been tearing it up. Okay, Walker Outdoors. It's a finders keeper situation. Maybe. I don't know if the federal government definitely won't look at it like that. I know when they tore down the cameras at the Malheur Wildlife Refuge that were put up there, there were no convictions off of that, because I know they tried to charge, I can't remember who it was up there that did that, but they didn't get convicted of anything. So that's some precedent that this guy could maybe use, even though he's supposedly in this 25-mile Constitution free zone. But all these places that the federal government claims are Constitution free zones too. So maybe he'll have that to use in his advantage as well. Buy it back off eBay, says Walter Davis. Yeah, put it up on eBay and make the feds buy it from you. Walker says, here in Southern Illinois, a game warden outranks everyone. Yeah, game wardens everywhere have extremely over-leveraged authority. If you look at game law, they can take everything that you're using. Even if you're fishing, if they find you like illegally fishing, they can take your firearms and everything else. I think that's every state. Game wardens have been given way too much power. Stan Oltz says same in Kanadistan. New Jersey agrees. Yeah, I think it's pretty universal that game wardens are way too privileged in some of the leverage that are given. Truth Freeze has joined us. Walter says he should have said, what camera? Yeah, you go. What are you talking about? Why would I have a camera on my land? Wait, you guys been trespassing on my land? And then sue them anyway. They probably have a GPS on it though. They probably have its location back to it, like a cell phone has a tracker and stuff. Like I couldn't imagine they don't have something like that. Although it's only $300, so it is kind of low. It's not terrible cost if it's if it's that model. But that'd be funny. What camera are you talking about? You guys put a camera on my land? They play all innocent and get all indignant and offended. That'd be a good approach. I like that idea. He probably didn't think. He was just probably so mad he wanted to confront him anyway. He's had so many problems with him. Could have been target practice. Would have been a good use, Kevin, right? When you get our targets practice in. You could always just, I wonder if it was marked like property of the federal government, or if it was just camouflage and like they tried to play it off like it didn't know who it was. Like you could say, hey, it could have been the cartels. I didn't know whose it was. You're right. Right. Walter says should have blamed the illegals for stealing it. Yeah, just hey, some coyote or somebody picked it up. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, Walker, I think the idea of a border wall is pretty far-fetched and egregiously expensive and unnecessary, all things considered. And true, as Truth points out, wall is to keep us in when we need common sense and policy in place. Wildlife regs are a sneaky way to tyranny, says Truth Freeze. All right, you guys are tearing it up. Yeah, so that's an interesting story that has widespread implications. I think that people don't understand, especially if he's outside this 25-mile zone, like legitimately, like he's like 28 miles away, or well, even if he's 25 and 1 inch, they've already given themselves too much carte blanche to do what they want within that 25-mile zone, and now they're going to extend it out and give these people excuses outside that 25-mile zone, which is even more egregious. I mean, it gets worse and worse. So we'll see where this goes. Um, I don't know. Good luck. I hope the guy gets his $500,000 because we definitely don't need them trouncing around wherever they want to go, for sure. Because then they'll just use it for everybody else being able to place surveillance cameras wherever they want. If Border Patrol can do it, then well, FBI probably does it anyway, and DEA and ATF and the Postal Service and every other person with a gun is going to run around putting up cameras wherever they want, which they want. It's what they want to do. They want to make sure they see what their little subjects are doing all the time. So what else is going on out there? Let me see if I got it. That's really the biggest story I wanted to talk about. I really didn't have any other notes, so throw anything out in the side chat. We're not talking about building the wall because that's not in the cards yet, but supposedly the negotiations are ongoing on Capitol Hill. But I can think of a lot of better ways to use that money. Are they gonna? So Truth Free says it was a typo. They meant 250 miles. I think they're going to go into court and argue that. I wouldn't doubt it. They go to Congress, say, Congress, you meant to do a typo here, right? You meant 250 miles? Okay, thanks. Yeah, case dismissed. Yeah, that would be sad but true, right? Like it wouldn't be too outrageous. I know everybody has seen the story that additional deputies did not go inside the school when they arrived at the school shooting in Florida. Um, I did that video yesterday on it. Go check that out if you want to hear my opinion. That just baffles the mind how you could show up to an incident like that and just sit and do nothing. America First security policy look like? It would look like not sending foreign aid to foreign countries, and it would have all those people deployed on our borders as necessary. Maybe not permanently, but as necessary. Oh, this should be good. Yeah, I would. This is going to be good. The CIA is so bad. Okay, this is going to be interesting. Are you shoveling water there, Walker? Is that why you're having a blast? So here's a story. This is off Zero Hedge, and the headline is: the CIA so bad that even when it tells the truth, it adds and lies. I think you would have to say yes. The CIA is that bad, and it lies every time it tells the truth. um, so this is out of a paper or organization, the Strategic Culture Foundation, is where this original article is referenced from. He was surprised to see the New York Times, an opinion article, headline with a distinctively non neoconservative title, Russia isn't the only one meddling in elections. We do it too. So that was from the New York Times. It's referenced in here. But then he got to the neocon core of the article itself. In recent decades, both Mr. Hall and Mr. Johnson argued Russian and American interferences in elections have not been morally equivalent. American interventions have generally been aimed at helping non-authoritarian candidates challenge dictators. Is that really true? Or otherwise promoting democracy. Russia has more often intervened to disrupt democracy or promote authoritarian rule, they said. Equating the two, Mr. Hall says, is like saying cops and bad guys are the same because they both have guns. The motivation matters. And he goes on to say that's the typical lie. Reality turned upside down. Black is white and white is black. Because I think we all have seen the pretty good history of how the CIA has installed dictators around the world. It's not like we put in this great democracy around the world. Iranian mercenaries. So they go back to Iranian mercenaries to rebel and overthrow the Shah, the prime minister in 1953. Actually, they go back to the prime minister in 1953 and installed a dictatorship, which lasted until 1979 and the Shah was deposed. So yeah, we didn't put in no great democracy there. We put in a dictator. Guatemalan president in 1954. More recently helped Honduras in 2009 aristocracy to overthrow the country's progressive democratic elected president. So there's several examples here. They go into Ukraine, how we overthrew that government, which is democratically elected and corrupt. But the CIA had their hands in helping the EU do that as well. And at the same time, when the CIA was in Ukraine, they were aligning with neo-Nazi types to do that, not good, wholesome, democratic-minded types. It's funny. You throw these things out there, people are like, oh, the CIA's fine. They just do the work, the hard work, right? So this is a good article to check out. And they just ripped this New York Times article apart, it looks like. It says the February 17th New York Times article is deceptive, not merely on account of its holier-than-thou admission of the CIA's supposedly past history of badness and its presumption of today's Russia being almost as bad as the Soviet Union. Actually, the article includes several other lies, such as are exposed in these articles about how American billionaires systematically robbed Russia during the 90s. Yeah, after the fall of the wall, it was a winner-take-all fest. In a lot of, it's got 3 links here: a Mother Jones article, the Nation article, and this strategicculture.org article. This one titled "Soros and his CIA friends targeted Russia in 1987." Interesting, because they knew economically they had the leverage to go in there probably and take quite a bit, I imagine. Okay, this is the end of it right here. So the last paragraph, in international relations, it's the same regime regardless, full of the same lies. And that historical fact and ongoing but unpublished news is not to be found to be accepted in the Times masthead lie. All the news that's fit to print. That's the New York Times. Yeah. Or else the truth itself just isn't fit to print. It's fit to print here and without paying a subscription. But how many people even read here? This explains how the regime protects itself against democracy by hiding what's essential. There you go. That's a good article. Lots of good links in there to check out. CIA is so bad that even when it tells the truth, it adds and lies. So even they admit to overthrowing other countries, they lie about how the motivations and the purposes behind it and the results as well. Go out in the side chat. CA from Inception is Plan of the Devil is Truth Freeze. Walker Outdoors says, you don't want me to get fired up on that subject. You ain't got no moderator in here. I'll make you a moderator, Walker. How about that? I figure I don't need a moderator. I'm not big time enough to have anybody that needs to look for trolls. Really, all I'm worried about is trolls. You can say whatever you want, but don't be dissension amongst the ranks. Kevin Stoll says they have snuck in an Agenda 2030 here in my little town. And M. Long finally asked the question, what's it take to get kicked out of here? Wow, I haven't ever thought about it. I'll wait and find out when somebody crosses the line, I guess. FBI number 2 refuses to provide details on how Cruz tips were fumbled. Yeah, right. Everybody's under fire for that. There were a swarm of earthquakes in the Bay Area yesterday. I did see a little bit of that. It was just small stuff, nothing big. Just a little swarm. It looks like Stan Ulch in the side chat's working for a property swap for lakefront property in the Mojave Desert to his beachfront property in the Yukon. That little trading goes a long way. That's a good idea. Story on how armed teachers at school could work. How China could freeze the U.S. military. And anybody that's been studying our trade deals since Clinton kind of has a leg up on this. But the tagline here is, if China decided to cut off these special materials, the entire U.S. military would cease to function in short order. Ever since Clinton, I mean, everybody's was raising a stink then about the trade deals and how certain technologies were handed over to the Chinese for not only development but production, and including in U.S. military hardware. Yeah, it's been a concern for a long time. So that's a couple things to look at. Anybody else got anything else in the side chat? We got about 10 minutes left. While you're here, check out the cards in that top right corner of your Hangout screen. Different channels I put up there to give you YouTube viewing options if you don't know about those channels already. I rotate them as much as every time. I choose different channels, so I'm not just touting the same ones. There has been talk of Alex Jones getting banned from YouTube, which is kind of laughable. But I guess he got a community strike, and there's talk of him quickly getting the second strike and being banned from YouTube. And for what? Just simply putting things out that's not like he said any, and that was, I guess, based upon his David Hogg video where he called him out for being a staged puppet and stuff, and they hit him for intimidation and bullying. And you just got to laugh at it. So obviously, it looks like they're continuing the march. We'll see how long this little sideshow here gets before we get shut down as well. Yeah, Stan says wrench everyone, see what happens. Yeah, I've got wrenches that I've got designated to people, but those people are so lazy they don't get up in the mornings. Those people only show up to chats for evening chats and stuff. Seems like they're never up for these morning ones. It seems like, but the morning crew's a lot more mellow than any evening or afternoon chats we do. I'm not seeing a whole lot of other stuff in here. The NRA is getting beat up by financially with everybody withdrawing their endorsement deals from credit cards to rental car companies. We kind of talked about that yesterday. UK struck by 21 quakes in 50 days, the biggest in 10 years. Not all students back gun control. Well, I would hope not. That's out of McClatchy. Interesting. It's still a news service. You would hope that would be the case, but kind of wrap it up. Kevin says if you give us wrenches, we could share links. You guys can't put links in the side chat? I didn't know there was a difference. Is that right? Or are you just trying to lure me into giving you a wrench? Now I'm suspicious. I didn't know you couldn't put links in the side chat. I thought, man, I can't remember how that works. Dang. Because I knew some chats have problems. Is it really that easy? Well, let's see what happens. Great. Now I'm gonna have all this stuff to look up that I ain't got time to do. See what happens. You show up to the morning chat though, you get special service. See what happens. Now I've lost track of where I'm at. Huh. Well, share away. See what happens. I didn't know you couldn't share links. Now I'm an idiot for asking for people to put links in the side chat. So this story about students that do support the Second Amendment, and at least in partial, if not in whole. Most people don't support the Second Amendment in whole because they have no concept of the militia. But anyway, separate issue. Just talks about different students in different areas, different parts of the country, and quoting them about trying to get gun rights. Oh, look at that, a link. Walker says, wrench, I need a screwdriver. There's some loose screws on some channels. We'll give you a sledgehammer in here, Walker. How about that? Oh, goodness. I should have right-clicked on that. Oh, there you go. Link to some video damage. So first link works, Kevin. Good news. I could have opened it in a different tab. Would have been a better approach. Now I got to go back. All right, let me pull that up. This got some good video in it, I guess, of the damage. Water running behind him. This is from yesterday. Actually, from Thursday night. This is the 22nd. So that's some of the images out of Indiana there, shared by our newly found ability to share links through the side chat, which you have to have a wrench. So who knew? There you go. But thanks for coming out, folks. It's been a good one. Hope you got something out of it, or you saw something. Good discussion in the side chat. Enjoy that weather, or just prepare for the weather, I guess, with all that rain coming out there. Y'all have a good weekend. We'll see you Monday morning. Live free.